Not that matters these days.
Mate, thanks for that advice on the anus cream. Fucking big to hemorrhoids, mate, completely. So, yeah. Does he suffer from that? Is it the diabetes?
There's a hemorrhoid cream just mentioned then in the intro. Is that what I heard over the news?
It's good for the gripping, footy players use it.
It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday night, fellas. I know it's a little bit different to our usual Monday. This is my fault, everybody. I was away at the Peninsula Hot Springs, so just relaxing and
la-di-da.
Yeah. So
who's the closet Melbourne supporter?
Okay, yeah. We had a cheese board as well, actually, to just
fantastic.
really channel our inner Melbourne supporter vibes. But no, nice and relaxed and back now. The kids screamed the house down upon arrival, so undid all the relaxation we just experienced. But how are you both?
I'm not bad, CB. How are you, sir? That's important. That's more important, obviously, than how I am.
I know. I'm fine. Everyone's good.
You sure? You're all right?
Yeah, no, we're good.
Because you were cranky last podcast. I'm just hoping have you taken the medication? Are you nice and relaxed?
Oh, I've started off relaxed.
All right, good stuff.
I saw CB at the footy from afar. I didn't actually wave to where I was, but he was on the fence line. He did a bit of a dodgy, but got some good seats in there, CB.
Can I just say the Hawthorn cheer squad, like, their shit when a 14-year-old kid is just going, seriously, Dad, is that all they've got? Now, I promise you, this is all they did for the whole game. They just go, give me a H, give me an A, give me a W, right? They go all the way through, and then they just go, Hawthorn, clap, clap, clap. Hawthorn, clap, clap, clap. That is legit all they have, and some old bag at the front who squeals like a witch. But that's about all they got. Horrific. Yeah. It's like the dregs of society all in one grouping.
At the risk of family members on my wife's side listening to this, they probably won't, but their usual seats are right next to the cheer squad. So I'm hearing you, CB. I understand your pain, but I proudly sit there, even weeks when we aren't playing and I go, I'll sit there with my premiership cap on and my jumper on and just really get a response out of them. So, but no, how many was there, do you reckon? Was it 40,000? Is that what we think turned up, roughly? And out of that 40,000, swear to God, I had the biggest snuffy sitting behind me, and I lost the plot within 2 minutes of the game. It was just unbearable.
Yeah, like I said, I've started up on Bay 13, a Hawthorn etiquette and basically football knowledge thing, because they just need to understand that it is legal to bump, tackle their players without them getting a free kick every time you breathe on them.
That's the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
Are they the West Coast levels of wine, are they?
Oh, it's up there.
Oh, mate.
It's up there. One of the better ones, I don't know if you guys remember the better play, but Bolter had the ball on the wing and he's gone for a left foot kick and he just shanked it and it dribbled out of bounds. It was shit house. And the guy behind me legitimately was screaming deliberate. And I've just turned around and just looked at him. He's like, no, it's not deliberate. I said, no, it's not. It's just a shit kick. But it just, amazing stuff. But anyway, we won't give the supporters too much more of a roast. Good game on the weekend. Richmond 11-12-78 defeated the Hawks 7-7-49. Pretty workmanlike performance, I think. Never at any stage did I think it was out of our control. It felt like we were sort of in second gear for most of the day. Tiggs, how did you see the game?
Yeah, it's I love the fact that every time they scored, when we did that little burst at the start, and every time that they scored a goal to get within 3 goals of us, we just straight away just answered it. So it really made me think that, we did have so many gears to go to that we just didn't need to get to those gears. And the boys were just running the clock off, really. Look, the game overall, it gives me the shits. I can understand why we're doing it, but we, from what I can understand is, being it's a transition game now, we're trying to keep our defence intact and as deep back as far as we can into the Oppo's forward 50. So by doing so, we had to rob Peter to pay Paul. So what we're doing is rolling our half forwards up into our midfield. What that's causing is we're getting a flood of inside 50s, but we're converting like shit. And we're getting a lot of messy ball inside 50. I'm sure we'll fix that up because, look, when it works, if a team can be in a full-on offense, we'll turn the ball over and we'll go straight off into an attack. 11-12, again, we've got to really work on it. And it's not just 11-12. We probably had an extra 10 shots. We could have had at goal that we didn't take. that, we got tackled at the last disposal. It was always that bloody last disposal. And it was because we were generally outnumbered in that forward arc. But, look, we'll get better at it. It's better doing it now. Because it's a ping-pong game, I noticed how quick we are in relation to our fitness and our recovery. So during the game, like the Hawks, you could see were fatiguing, particularly their mids. But our guys just kept on going. Really, the centres clearances we broke even, and stoppage clearance we broke even. We beat Hawthorn with chance slouches in that area. So overall, I was happy with it. We just got the win. We needed to get the win. We tried a few things that worked, and we go forward to this Saturday, which I can't wait for.
It's fairly bruised.
Okay.
Sorry, I was going to say it's fairly bruise-free footy, though, isn't it, Tiggs? When you look at you were talking before about the tackle numbers.
Yeah.
Hawthorn had 36 tackles for a whole game, and Richmond
42.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, it looked like our pressure was on in certain aspects, but our pressure came to the fore when we had a stoppage, and there's hardly any stoppages anymore. So, it's definitely the ball's pinging around, and I reckon it's going to suit us. I reckon that style of play, funny enough, I know we're all about pressure, but that slingshot, helter-skelter, suits us to a T, because unlike a lot of sides and unlike Sydney, funny enough, and I rate Sydney, they don't have the defence to defend to back up that style of play. We do. We're third for points against, points for, so we've got the third best attack in the league, and we've got the number one defence in the league with points against. So we're in a really nice place.
And that's been a pretty constant, I think, across the last couple of years, our defence and how stingy they are. And the thing I want to touch on, you mentioned about the pace, and that was actually the overwhelming comments by the Hawthorn people around me was, shit, Richmond is so quick when we have got the ball and when we haven't got the ball. And then when you sort of look back to the documentaries that have come out over the past few months, the players genuinely believe and know that they're one of the quickest sides in the comp. And when the ball's pinging around like that, we are going to get on top of teams and spread them.
Not to my last bit I'll say on it is, if you guys haven't heard Edwards' interview that he had on SEN today, did you guys catch Shane Edwards' interview?
It was with Dwayne yesterday. It was good.
Yeah, and it was fantastic to hear. Any of the listeners, please go, and it's on the podcast. Just go on the SEN app or website, and you actually see it. You don't have to listen to all the other shit. You can actually just hear directly from Edwards itself. But you could hear the confidence. They've got confidence that they'll run over top of sides. They've got an inner belief that there's no side fitter than Richmond. And that just came to the fore for me. That was a real resounding message I got. And they know that, it was funny. He sort of said their aim is to stay with sides for the first half because they know they'll beat them in the second half. Because not only are they fitter than them, they've got, our coach in the coaching box is elite, and we'll change it up slightly and we'll come over the top. So, that was great to hear. Go have a listen to it.
And Michaels, we'll have a chat about a couple of players now. Are we seeing the return of the king in the goal square, mate? Talk to us about Jack.
This is going to sound really bad, but when I saw the stats after the game of 4 goals, I didn't actually feel like he kicked 4. Like, I knew he was influential, but 4, it's a good haul. He's looking fit, isn't he? He's jumping around, making space, which is good because Tom Lynch kind of isn't doing it for me at the moment. He's doing his role, but he's not getting dangerous enough. But Jack's game is good, and when he's got his kicking boots on, he is elite. And then Georgie Castagna, if he keeps kicking goals, fellas, we are going to cause teams a lot of trouble because he just by nature of his work rate is going to generate shots on goal. But when he kicks that snap on the boundary on his left foot and it goes through, we're having a good day.
He's a dead-eye dick now, George.
He's back. Chaos is back.
What about your mate, CB, Brody?
Yeah, can I say, it's funny having the privilege of watching his game up close. For those people that sort of go, Nathan Broad should be one of the first out, you're not understanding his role. So effectively, when Bolter and Asprey start at full back, Broad's on the bench. And then when one of those blokes goes into the ruck, he effectively takes full back. So he's like our third full back. And he was just absolutely outstanding on the weekend with his body work, disposal. It was probably, and I think most commentary around it, it was his best game for the club. He was absolutely outstanding on the weekend. He was the Rock of Gibraltar, and he ain't leaving that back six anytime soon.
there was a lot of comments on socials about that being his best game. But I feel like he does a lot of that week in, week out. I feel like he doesn't get the recognition he deserves from our own supporters. And that kind of alludes to what you sort of said at the start, CB, about people are often saying he'll be the first one out, this, that, and the other. But I reckon he's one of the first ones on the board.
He is, mate. His role. Look, they're all role players, mate. Even Dusty, they've all got roles, and he played his role to perfection.
Yeah, and he's one of those players that if he doesn't do what he does, then Grimes, Bolter, and Asprey can't do what they do, and it's just a good synergy.
The sum of all parts.
And the skipper, he was back.
Yeah, the return of the Koch. 27 disposals, 634 metres gained. That was the game high of anyone on the ground. So he was our number one. He was ahead of Dustin Martin, believe it or not. And that was a fair statement, him coming back. So all was really well. He's moving really well. And just his decision-making was first rate, I thought. Really great, really good game.
I might be being ultra critical here. I felt like he butchered the ball a couple of times, but I'm happy to give him slack because it's his first game back.
Yeah, and that's what it was. It was his first. Look, I put a tweet during the game. I think it was after his 11th turnover. I said his just kicking is starting to give me gastro. But that was fully tongue in cheek because I love our captain. But yeah, he was as rusty as all buggery with his kicking. He recognised that himself, I think. But he plays a crucial role. A lot of his disposals are in the back half.
Yeah.
From Hawthorn, and his decision making, like CB said, he knew when to go inside, when to go on the outer wing, or when to just go straight down the line. So, no, he's crucial to us. Yeah, absolutely crucial to us.
But before I get your thoughts on Martin Tiggs, I want to ask you both a quick question. Would you take 27 disposals with Koch at 11 turnovers, or do you go Tom Mitchell's 37 disposals for 170 metres gained?
170 metres gained. Koch anytime. Mate, I'd go Koch at 5 disposals over Tom Mitchell. All he does is stat pad. He doesn't hurt you. Even Jager Amira, I was surprised how bad his disposal actually is. And they gave 2 first rounders for him. Go figure that.
No, we're lucky to have Koch. And Tiggs finally on the plays. Dusty Martin had another pretty good game.
Yeah, great game. You could tell he's enjoying his football. Look, he shared the ball a fair bit. And I was speaking just before about, he's sharing a bit too much. But, look, you could tell he's just having fun out there. He brings other people's in the game. He's had 11 score involvements, the highest of anyone on the ground. You mentioned you didn't think Jack kicked 4 goals. Well, because he got 2 handed to him by Martin. That was Sodas. So, look, he was just great. They tried to tag him. And look, Burgoyne's footy IQ is through the roof. But even then, he looked lost at times. Dustin would just make space, particularly forward. I love that he's playing forward, midfield forward, and not really venturing in the back half unless we're pressed. It's a perfect position for him. It's going to extend his career longer. He's not getting smashed around. He's moving so fluidly. He's from his speed. What did you boys think when Hawks looked like they were getting right up? It was towards the end, I think, of the just before half time. Hawks had a little bit of a momentum, and then what does Dusty do? He gets a clearance, evades the tagger, just charges right down in the centre of the MCG and just boots it from 60 metres through for a goal. He's just that good. He just knew he'd kick it.
My only regret about that goal was it wasn't a Richmond home game, and there wasn't 30,000 Richmond supporters in the Great Southern Stand to really give that goal the cheer that it deserved.
He's brilliant.
He's a star. That goal was just a thing of beauty. Now, CB, you had a long-time listener of ours ask you a question during the game. What's that one all about?
So this is a talking point that was raised by our man, Elton John's wig. And the question is, do we overshare the ball too much forward of centre? And I've got to say, it hit a nerve with me because I agree with the sentiment because it really annoys me. Like, I know we're big on the sharing mantra and we bring everyone into the game and all that stuff, but sometimes you've just got to take the goddamn shot. And there was one passage of play where I think the ball ended up in Rewalt's hands and he literally was 15 metres out dead in front. He could have just easily turned and snapped it. And what's he do? He fires it to Josh Caddy, who's on a 45-degree angle and tries to bloody check side it through. And it's shit like that that's really starting to irritate me. I think it's wonderful what they're trying to do, but sometimes you just got to do the obvious. And if it's your turn to go and have the shot, have the goddamn shot. Because we could have put Hawthorn away in the second quarter, and we didn't. And the reason we didn't was we got cute and we started dicking around with the pill. I think we kicked like 4 points in a row or something, and it would have put us about 8 goals up halfway through the second quarter, and we missed an opportunity. And it's a frustration that I have.
We did leave a few goals out there.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, definitely. But look, I'm probably the other side of the view of it, though, CB. I agree with everything you said, and I get as frustrated as anyone. But at the end of the day, it's reinforcing what's unique about the club. You know, I seriously believe that they do it to reinforce the standards. You know what I mean? And they do it. They tend to do it early in the year. For the past 3-4 years. I don't know if it's a reinforcement thing or is it just they're just having fun, and they're trying to get others into the game. And the like. But look, at the end of the day, we've left a lot of goals on the table. We left it last week as well. I'm sure they'll tidy that up, but they probably didn't feel like they were going to lose the game. So, let's share it a bit. But yeah, it can be frustrating, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
I'm sure they'll sharpen it up as the year goes on, like we said before. But I think if push came to shove, they would nail the shots if they had to. So
if it was a final, they wouldn't do it.
But it is frustrating. It's 100% frustrating. Yeah. But oh well.
And just another point that we stuck in here as a talking point. This is to do with the VFL, and I'll ask this one of you, Michaels. 5 coaches have come out and criticised the new rules to which the Eastern Seaboard competition is now playing, and I think zones are the particular sticking point. It doesn't resemble what we're playing in the AFL. So we've got a 2-tiered competition. You've got the AFL, and then you've got the secondary competition, and the rules and the structures of the secondary competition do not reflect in any way what we're trying to do in the AFL part. Do you reckon this is a good thing moving forward, Michaels, or should it be a bit more aligned?
I'm going to do a cut and say bad call. I reckon 5 coaches is being generous. I reckon there's probably going to be a lot more. If they haven't come out already, they'll come out very soon. So I'll do this quickly because I know we've got to push on. So essentially, for those who aren't aware, what they're basically doing is if there's a boundary throw-in, I'm not sure if it's a ball up as well, but I know definitely a throw-in, that each team has to have 3 players in their defensive 50 and one of them in the goal square. So kind of like the 6-6-6 setup at the start in a bit shorter format. And what the coaches are dead right. How are you meant to develop and breed your young talent to come through and fill a role in a team if you get an injury or whatever it might be when they're playing in a completely different set of rules? And I think Hardwick sort of alluded to the fact that the running power needed for the VFL games now is not the same as what the AFL games are. So they're going to blow up quicker, and it just makes it harder. I mean, if they're going to trial rules, do you maybe use the NAB League, the former TAC Cup? I don't know. Or do you just keep the trial to the pre-season comp games? It just doesn't make sense to have that drastic a change at the VFL.
Yeah. It's just common sense. You don't. It's like CB. If I'm teaching you how to drive, you want to learn how to drive a car. So I'll put you on my motorbike.
It's just ridiculous.
It's stupid.
I reckon they'll change it pretty soon. When the coaches speak up, they generally get what they want. So all we need is Clarko to say something and it will change. He seems to have the magic touch.
All we need is Brad Scott, because we all know they all listen to Brad Scott. Or fucking Alistair Clarkson.
Clarko, you'll get it done for us.
As soon as he says something, they should change it.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
All right, CB, it's time for your Bloodbath. I'll play your intro. I know you can't hear it, but I can, and I enjoy it.
Is it Staying Alive? Is that the intro? You didn't copy my voice.
Give it to me, baby. What's on your mind this week with the Bloodbath?
Right, so this will be a 2-parter. The first one, I'll just say something, but then the second part, there's going to be a second subject matter which everyone will get to contribute in on. But the first one, I just want to talk about Chris Scott and the Fagan incident and why I think it's serious. It is serious. Like, I found it really disturbing to hear players going to bat for their mate Scott last night. So, Jonathan Brown and those guys and Nick Rewalt, and they were all, it was great that the coach went there and stood up for his players. Well, actually, it's not. And I'll tell you why it's not a good thing, Chris Scott actually having a crack at opposition players. Because that filters down into the lower leagues, and there's already enough heroes and dickheads coaching in lower levels, particularly in junior leagues. And if they see AFL footballers AFL coaches, feeling justified to approach opposition players and give them a burst, then what do you reckon is going to happen in the lower leagues, in the lower levels? So it's actually concerning behaviour, and something, there needs to be an outcome on Chris Scott from the AFL on this, because unfortunately, we are a monkey see, monkey do type thing, and people like to imitate what they do at the highest level. And you're going to have some super coach out there that's going to be upset because it's not going his way in a game of under 14s football or something, and he's going to do something it's going to be ugly. So that stuff really needs to be nipped in the bud. And I found it disturbing that the boys' club were defending Chris Scott last night, and they were actually in the wrong. Fagan was correct. There is no justification for talking to opposition players. There just isn't anymore. And that's all I'll say on that. And the second one, I'm going to bring up the topic of a guy who's very near and dear to this show's heart.
We've called this for a long way out.
we may have discussed this gentleman before, but there's an umpire out there by the name of O'Gorman. And I believe he may have had an impact on a game on Friday night, which is possibly, in all honesty, I hope that howler actually leads to Brisbane missing the top 4 by percentage in front of Geelong or something, just to really ram home the implications of how unfit this guy is to umpire a game of AFL football. I will now throw it open to the table.
You go, Tiggs. I know you've got a bit more love for O'Gorman.
Oh, fuck me. Give it to me, baby. That's no, I agree with everything you said on Scott, mate. And you just know when Kane Corn offers an opinion, the reverse is probably the best way to go. So, good bloodbath. Look, but on O'Gorman, look, I'm in two parts with this, fellas. First, it was like I was going to hop on the train here and, how could he miss that, the obvious free kick? Did he freeze? Did he intentionally not call it? But then I had a look at it again, right? And then I tried to have a look. They showed down the ground vision about where his positioning was. And he obviously didn't see, he assumed, he thought that Biclavas, whatever that fucking tall, lanky flog's name, how you pronounce it, might have got a hand to the ball and handballed it before he was slung around. So that's the problem. That right there is symptomatic of what's woefully bad with the whole entire umpiring department, not just O'Gorman, particularly number 32. I've forgotten what the umpire's name, number 32. I haven't forgotten you, mate. They guess. They assume. They don't go off what they see. They assume what's happened, even if they haven't seen it. And it leads to disasters like this. It surprised me that the AFL came out and just threw him under the bus. Do you think they might have come out and would have asked him a question, what happened there? He would have been, with a little bit of intelligence. Look, I just didn't see it. And they would have said, look, unfortunately, he was just in the wrong position and didn't call it. But no, they just threw him on the bus. Is he umpiring this weekend, fellas?
Well,
he needs to be dropped back to the bush leagues if he is.
I don't know how true it is, but I saw someone on Twitter say that with the umpire allocations due to the lower numbers of umpires available, that when they're booked in, they're scheduled in blocks of 3. So they're sort of guaranteed 3 games in a row before any other change may be made. I'm not sure if that's completely true or not. Some of our listeners might be able to clarify. But I get what you're saying, Tiggs, about the position of the umpire, but there's 4 of them, and umpires pay free kicks from the non-officiating umpire all the time. And I don't know how it was missed. And the reaction, when people from all different teams band together for one common goal, something went wrong. We're always the first to shit can one another along the way, but everyone was on Brisbane's side there. But the question I want to ask you guys, just for a quick answer, is something like that. Is that something like that should be looked at from that review team in the bunker, whatever the hell they use these days? Is that something, because the ball went through for a point, so there was a brief stop and play. Could they have just said, hang on, we reckon you've missed one here, like what sort of soccer do with the VAR, even if the umpire misses it, they can still say, hang on, we think we've seen something here.
Okay, hang on. So in the NRL, they have a captain's challenge. So both captains in the NRL are allowed one challenge. And if they get it right, they keep their review. If they get it wrong, like the cricket, you lose it. Okay. So maybe that's something they need to consider if it's such a howler that, maybe who's the captain of the Lions?
Is it Zorko?
Yeah, I don't know. Whoever it is, he could go, hang on, stop the game. We need that reviewed. That he hasn't handballed that. But how would you go about the clarification? Like, because then he'd have to say, look, I think the ball has missed his hand and it's dropping the ball away. It could be a bit messy, but that's probably the only way you could do it is give the captains one review on an absolute howler for that type of situation.
My quick answer would be basically you open up a Pandora's box, like the score review at the moment does for what happens within the goal square, or, for example, if it hits the post, if it touches fingers, but it doesn't like the Gibbons goal that wasn't a goal against Collingwood. It clearly was out of bounds when he kicked it, but it went through for a goal. The umpire, the boundsman missed it, and they called it as a goal. And people are asking, why can't you review that? Because then the question comes out, well, how far back do you go? If you have do you go back to where, because you know how you get chains of play, so that's generally off the free kick, and it might be, just off the centre square, one long kick, mark, goal. So from a poor decision. But look, at the end of the day, the AFL is unique, and the one reason I love the AFL uniqueness about it is because there's mistakes in the game, the chaotic nature of our game. I don't want it to get to NRL where it's like fucking watching American sport where it's, the umpires are too heavily involved. I don't really want to see the umpires. And if there's a mistake made, you just roll with it. And because we've had some fucking howlers. I still remember where in the Freo game where Jack Rewalt, Shepherd just slightly bumped the Freo player for Caddy's long goal. They would have won us the game. It's the game that we lost by 3 points. Would have won us the game. And everyone said that was not a free kick and that goal was disallowed. You cop it on the chin. You move on. It's part of the rage and the football, heartbeat, when you get passionate about shit like that. But, that was clearly a disgusting non-call. But don't change the rules anymore. Don't add any more layers of officialdom. Just
keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Good topics though, CB. Very good discussion points.
Fantastic, mate.
I reckon O'Gorman's got away lightly. We'll see how we go next week.
I will just say this to any of the listeners who are local umpire things. We're not canning the umpire fraternity.
It's a tough gig.
We're actually just canning one bloke who can actually bring a lot of heat onto the whole umpiring fraternity.
That's it.
Yeah, a fair call. Well summed up there, CB.
Yeah. Because just to really quickly just add for the umpires, because it's a really good point, CB. Really what we're trying to say, I'm trying to say, I don't want to speak on behalf of my two learner colleagues beside me, but really it's not O'Gorman's fault. The whole umpiring department that were playing that day let him down, right? Because you're hearing during games that the umpires overrule each other. Like one might call a mark and the other one goes, no, that hit the ground. You hear that all the time. You see it all the time. Why someone didn't just go in his ear and say, hey, mate, that actually, he did not handball it. That's actually a free kick. The goal umpire could have done it because they can award free kicks. The boundary umpire could have done it. And the other umpire that runs around the other side could have done it. No one did it.
No, it was just an all-round debacle. But,
yeah, it was.
At least it wasn't against us. That's probably the positive to come from it.
Oh, could you imagine if it was?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, could you imagine?
All right, Tiggs, Tiger Den segment. You got your 3 or 4 minutes. Let's. What have you got?
Yeah, first the clarification on a few tweets I did during the game. I really wanted to talk about the bolter in the ruck. Now, I know, doesn't need to be said to me again, that it's a game plan tactic that Hardwick uses where he rolls either Asprey or bolter to give Nack a chop out. Fully understand it. I've rewatched the Hawks game and I rewatched the round 1 game. And I urge anyone to do that and notice what happens when bolter rucks. I'm not saying bolter can't ruck. I'm not saying bolter doesn't do a new dynamic when he's in there. He does. It's brilliant. But the Oppo scores. Hawthorn got their run on when bolter was in there. And it's not because of bolter. It's because bolter gives us so much in defence in what he does as a presence. Because he's nearly 200 centimetres. He's mobile. Midfielders running into their forward 50 see him in the area and then they might kick in a different direction and all that sort of stuff defends our back 50. what I would personally do is just use Asprey. I don't know why we have to have 3, because it's only for like 5 minutes in a quarter, if that. But I hope Hardwick, that's what I clarified. I'm not giving it to Bolt to say he can't do the ruck roll. I believe he can. But look, he's our stallion in the back half. Did we get Rance doing it? No. And for me, Bolter, to the impact he has against opposition, midfielders and forwards leading into their forward 50 is just as good for me, even at his youngest part of his career. So leave him in the defensive 50. Now, the other one I want to give a bit of clarification to, if I can, guys, is Marlon Pickett. I got a bit of abuse, and I won't mention who, CB, but it was... I was actually giving him credit, but what I was trying to do, and I understand that, with Hooley not being in the side, and understand that, he plays on the ring. For me, he's the ultimate utility in the nature of how he plays, got all the tools, and I actually said that. But to have him in deep 50 now, and it doesn't happen all the time, but he hasn't got that defensive awareness. He gets caught cold-footed a fair bit for the times that I've seen. Again, this is a personal view, not agree with it or don't agree with it. And he tends to fumble a fair bit. He's not a one-touch player. Funny enough, that's in the first half of games. In the second half of games, he's brilliant. It's just one of those guys, and he's still very young in his career. Forget his age. He's played, under 30 games. So he's not a one-grab player yet. So I just don't like seeing him in the defensive 50. I think we could utilise him a lot better to keep him wing, even with Hawley not in the side, because we've still got Baker and Short. And I know, if that means keeping Broad in the side, because as CB mentioned that he comes out, he sits on the bench at times, maybe keep Broad in for a longer period so Marlon doesn't have to go in there because he's a weapon. Some of his bumps, some of his pressure that he applied, particularly in to turn the ball back over our way was brilliant. But, I just want to really clarify those 2 tweets because I'm not hating on any of those 2 particular players, just an observation that I saw. That's it, basically, to keep it nice and quick.
All right.
And first, can I add how lucky I am as a husband? My wife just brought me a coffee.
Oh, geez, on fire.
Come on, boys, lads. Have you got a coffee? Is your wife giving you a coffee right now? No. My wife has.
I'm not sure what she's doing, actually.
No, she's great. The only disappointing
lukewarm bottle of water here.
The only disappointing thing,
this is room temperature.
My wife, didn't go under the table after she gave me the coffee. That's disappointing.
Do you have lemon in your water, CB? That's very good for you, I've heard.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I don't do that cucumber shit or water. It's just water, mate. That's all I need.
Mate, Michaels, you're coming to Melbourne. You're going to get rid of that Melbourne speech, mate.
I know. Yeah, that was a good weekend, though.
Fucking lemon in your water, please, mate.
All right, listener question time. Now, we've kind of winged this because I didn't have time to allocate who was going to ask what. But did you have any questions you like the look of, CB, that you wanted to bring to the table, or did you? I've got it up in front of me now. I can go through it if you want.
I'll level with you, mate. That's one thing I didn't have when I did this thing. I didn't have time this week to look at that, mate. I've sort of been busy with work and footy and stuff. So yeah, apologies.
That's all right. I'll direct a couple of questions to each of you. CB, I'll go to you first. This is from Paul_football on Twitter. It kind of touches on one of your discussion points from earlier. Has Koch lost his kick penetration, or will it come with match fitness? It seemed quite a problem on Sunday.
You actually lose your kicking penetration as you get older. I can actually personally vouch for that, mate. I used to be able to kick the ball 50 metres, and then by the time I got mid-30s, mate, I was kicking it like 30 metres and about 80 metres in the air. So it is something that does happen over time. Unfortunately, Father Time is a bit cruel like that. But I think also it's a question of where he's getting the ball and what options are available to him as well. He's not really a big smash-it-down-the-line player anymore. So I think it's a bit of a combination, if I'm honest.
Just to clarify to the lady listeners, European footballers, though, as we get older, we actually kick longer. So just wanted to put that out there. We don't shrink in our distance. We actually extend. I just want to make that real clear.
All right, next one for you, Tiggs, from Japania on Twitter. The media and the Pie supporters were having orgasms over Darcy Moore's performance on Thursday night, calling him the best AFL defender. Grimes and Bolter say hi. Harry McKay had kicked 4 goals on him till 3/4 time. What do you think the narrative would have been if that was Rance?
Yeah, good call. I rate more as a backman. He conceded 4, but he saved more than he conceded. And it's funny, it's just a double standard. Rance defends that way. Rance had a reputation on defending one-on-one pretty well because his strength was stopping goals. And, he might personally leak 2 or 3 goals because his direct opponent, inverted commas, kicks those scores. But really, with the 15 goals that came through, he's blocked, 6 of them. So that's the type of more plays that interceptor role really well. Not as equal as Rance. But he's an outstanding backman. But that's just a double standard. It's like if we, an analogy for that is if you had Asprey do a round arm punch behind play, behind the back of Neild, and in the very same game, Hardwick was gobbing off at the Brisbane Lions player, do you reckon the media would be as soft on Geelong, on Richmond as they have been on Geelong? No, of course they wouldn't.
Fair enough. And the last one I'll give to you, CB, from Marky Mark. We are starting to lose our best fringe/depth players to other clubs. How many senior games this year do we need to give our next best 6 to keep them interested? Sorry. Otherwise, players like Ross, RCD, Garthwaite, etc., will get targeted by others.
Well, I think we might have raised it a couple of episodes ago. I think a lot of these guys are going to get game time naturally anyway through injury and also the length of the season and just the speed of the game. I think I can't see Cochin playing 22 games this year. There's a few boys like that. So I think just through injuries, resting Dan Curvis, I'll be amazed if we can get 23 games in a row out of him. He'll probably try it, but he's a workhorse. But I just think some of these young blokes, CCJ, RCD, I'll make a point about Ross a bit later on with the ins and outs when we analyse the Sydney game. These guys do need game time. But having said that, I mean, the players we've lost, we haven't really missed any of them that have gone in the last 4 years either. We've been sad to see them go, but we haven't lost anything really as a club.
Yeah.
But I think that next batch coming through, your Martins, your Hugos, Rosses, I'm speaking like Gary Ayres, aren't I? Or Paul Bruce, putting an S on the end of everything. All those guys, I think they will get game time during the year. And obviously we've got some players approaching the twilight of their careers as well. So opportunities will open up for them should they choose to stay at the club.
And before I agree with all that. I think they'll just naturally get minutes as we roll on. But good questions there. Sorry we couldn't get through a few more from the listeners. We'll try and get through some more next week. Before I let Tiggs take us into the preview for the Swans game, we do have to give a very special shout out to Noah Bolter, who has committed to the club for another 2 years. And we were talking off air about how funny it is every time a player signs for us. It's remember the days where after we signed Lynch, it was there's going to be a max exodus. We're not going to be able to keep all our gun players, etc., etc. And I've got no doubt clubs were queuing up to speak to young Noah. But very happy that he stayed. And I just want to point out that CB did clarify on the weekend that he is a man mountain after seeing him up close and personal on the fence line.
Yeah, fantastic.
He's a
Adonis.
Goes to be.
I was just going to say, I thought Alex Rance was a big dude, but this guy's bigger than Rance and less refined. He is just a brick shithouse at fullback. He's amazing.
And because we're talking about our kids, can I just also give a special shout out? And this is probably in part an example of why our kids won't leave, even if they've only played a couple of games this year. To Bigoa Nguyen and to Marbury Chol. Both have been, one has been fined and the other one's been suspended for headbutting in the VFL. And why I'm mentioning this is because the team spirit it showed. One stood up for the other. And for me, that I was rapt when I read that in the AFL. That's fantastic. And players don't leave if they love the people they're around, love the club, love the environment, know that their time will come and trust the process. They won't go. New on for that headbutt, mate, have your 2 weeks, well deserved. I reckon you would have got a hug by Dimmer for backing up Marby Chol.
I didn't know that happened. There we go. All right, Tiggs, kick us off with the preview for the Sydney Swans game this week.
Mate, it's very rare for a game to literally dead set make me horny. This game makes me horny, right? And let me describe to you why. There's this big fucking media hoopla about Sydney. If you watch on the couch, they're talking about how great their kids are. They're talking about how, they're lightning from, defence to forward 50. How blah, blah, blah. All that's true. It's fantastic. But I'm happy to say I believe our kids are just as good as their kids. The method of their play, and I was speaking to Mark, avid Sydney mate of mine today. He was going on about, how they do, they boot over the defensive line and will be able to just race it in, and they've got the buddy and stuff. I just sort of said to him this, a couple of facts, right? Sydney used to be a heavy clearance, particularly stoppage clearance and centre clearance team. That used to be their one wood, right? And they've changed the way that they've played on that. They're now from defensive 50 to forward 50 transition. They're number one in the league from that ground. And a big part of it is they've got a beautiful, I think it's, forgot what the backman's name is now, but he can kick at 70 metres because of that 15. The new from the goal square rule, you got 15 metres more. So he actually does what short should be doing. He uses his full leg and he boots it 70 metres right down the guts. But back on point, we're actually a better clearance side than they are. We're actually ahead of them in the stoppage clearance. They're number one side for points for, but they're defensive. But we're again number three, but we're number one points in defence. And I think I actually didn't check them, but I think they're 4th or 5th or something like that. So it's going to be an exciting game. Their kids, I hope Horse doesn't park the bus. I hope he gives them license to attack us because if you do that, they'll get slaughtered. And the reason why I'm very confident on that is we're holding our defensive very deep. So we are a perfect side, like Hawthorn showed it against us. You can kick it as deep as you like. You can get it from the centre and then try to penetrate either flank. We will still keep our defensive positioning intact. And how we're doing is we're rolling a half forward midfield. And then all of our lines are staggering down because of transition. And once we turn that ball over in our defensive half, we just race it. So because we're fitter than anyone else. Their defence leaks as well. That's the thing. Like if Adelaide had a kick straight, they had 33 scoring shots. And there's no disrespect to Sydney, but our midfield is not Adelaide's midfield. Our defence is not Adelaide's defence. You allow us that amount of space to run the ball in to get 33 shots, we'll kick a bigger score than Adelaide did. So, look, people are talking about Buddy and Martin. Fuck that. What gets me super excited is Buddy versus Bolter, just to see Bolter, the learnings he will get. Look, I expect him to be beaten on it, but the tricks he will learn off Buddy, the patterns that Buddy runs, because Buddy is a dead set champ. His forward craft is elite, and I hope Hardwick understands that and goes, Bolter, you got him all game.
I thought that was a point for someone else down the run sheet, mate.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, was it? Oh, sorry, yeah. I didn't see that. Sorry, mate. Yeah, you can still talk about it, but that's my biggest thing of the game. And that's it for me. I'll hand it over to you guys.
You go, CB. What's your take on the game?
Yeah, look, I think the one thing that we're looking at, like with metres gained at the moment, Richmond's 6,795 versus Sydney at the moment 6,306. So the style of game we are playing, particularly on the MCG, is a pretty fast, ferocious, direct game. And I think while everyone's talking up the youth, I think that the Sydney strength could be their weakness, which could be exposed by us over the weekend. And yes, they had a very good win in round one versus the Lions, and they had a very good win against Adelaide, but they haven't come up against a team like Richmond yet this year. And admittedly, Richmond, like last weekend, it was just a Richmond-like win. Wasn't anything fantastic, just got the job done. But I just think when you look at key matchups, I really like the matchup of Nankervis versus Hickey. And I reckon that matchup's going to give us extra dominance around the centre bounce situations and also around the ground. I think Nankervis will be in for a very, very good day, which will assist our ground level efforts and get the ball moving our way. And as we were sort of talking about before, who do you reckon, Michaels, is going to get Buddy?
Has to be Bolter. I agree with Tiggs, and I think football watchers in general are going to be excited to watch that matchup, just because of how far Noah Bolter's come in such a short period of time. I think people can acknowledge he's looking like a pretty handy defender. But yeah, Buddy's an absolute star, and footy is a better place with him on the field. There's no question about that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that matchup. I do think on the bigger ground, it's going to help us sort of cover off a bit more. If it was at the SCG, we might have had a bit more trouble with it. But I reckon Noah will get first crack at it, and I think that's credit to him and Hardwick for hopefully showing the faith in him to do so. That's going to be a monster showdown. Tiggs, what about Papley and Heaney? Danger players, CB's put in the agenda. They're quick, they are very skillful, and they know where the goals are. Who gets them?
Oh, Papley for me is a no-brainer. I'll give it Baker. Similar height. Baker for me is just growing every season. I think he would relish the challenge to play on an elite player like Papley. Papley might get him a few times, but the learnings Baker would be brilliant. So I'd put Baker just for that. Look, Heaney's the funny one. I'm actually going to go left field here. Like I naturally want to say Broad, because Broad has, the body shape, has the smarts, has the engine, and has the tools to go with him. So Broad would be my plan B. But I would love to actually see Marlon Pickett on him, because Heaney is a half forward, but he goes up high up the ground as well. So I reckon Marlon would look. If the ball's up high, Marlon's really smart. I don't think he'll get Marlon on endurance. Marlon's got a bit of mongrel about him and make Heaney earn it. The only downside with that is he might get done for a bit of pace and might give away a few too many frees. But that's based on how Heaney plays. If he doesn't just stay in the forward 50, if he motors between forward 50 and midfield in that arc, Marlon, I'll give him to Marlon. If he's deep forward 50, then I'll roll Broad onto him. But that's what I'll do. I'll give Marlon Pickett. I reckon he'll do a good job on him.
Yeah, I think Pickett will do a good job as well. CB, put your David King hat on for a second, or your Kane Corns hat. Does Sydney tag Dusty?
No.
Can anyone tag Dusty?
Mate, can you believe, like, one of the suggestions today was, now Rampy's their best defender. Do we agree on this, guys?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He's pretty good.
Yep. Pound for pound, he's their best.
Yep. So the conversation today was us saying they should stick someone like Rampy on Dusty. Okay. Can you imagine what is going to happen to Rampy if he goes anywhere near the centre on Dustin Martin? I mean, the dumb thing about this logic, all of a sudden tagging Dusty is the new black, I guess. But there are some players that are that good. Do you reckon teams over the journey didn't try and tag Chris Judd, Robert Harvey, Scott West, bloody Greg in the 70s, or Lee Matthews? It is not something new. Sometimes players are just that good that you can't. Dusty's that smart. He loses players through the traffic. People start on him, but he's that talented. He loses them through the traffic. He knows how to shake a tag, and he's just an offensive weapon. And worst case scenario, like I said, if he's getting touched up, he's just going to go play forward.
Yeah.
So it just they can try, but I think they're actually going to be wasting. They're going to be wasting a player trying to tag him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I hope they do, because it will detract from what they can achieve against us. I actually do. I hope. Look. How did old man Burgoyne go on the weekend? I mean, and Silk's a fantastic player still, and he got absolutely towed.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, mate, I think I hope they do. I think it's a colossal waste of time trying to tag him.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck Sydney for trying, mate. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's all the best to him. What do you got here? Oh yeah, the Jack and Tom Lynch. Are the Swans going to be undersized to man these two up? You sort of touched on Rampy there, CB. I mean, really, if they're serious, they're going to have to send Rampy to one of them, and McCartan's probably going to take the other. But Walker kicked 6 or something, didn't he, against him? He's in a rich vein of form, but this is where I don't think they can afford to have the Rampy sort of conversation on Martin, because they're going to be exposed by one of the other big dudes, and you've got to pay respect to Lynch and Jack. So with the amount of inside 50s we get, I think the Sydney defence will be under the pump a little bit on game day, which is nice.
Do you reckon? Strategically, would it be worth us playing Lynch deeper and really trying to expose him one-on-one deep?
I reckon. I think he's going to be. I mean, McCartan's a big dude, but it depends on who's on him. I think Tom will be able to out-muscle Rampy if they were isolated deep, but it can create free kicks as well. Like, it can create panic and all kinds of stuff can go wrong for defenders when they're isolated, and especially with the stand rule and people like McIntosh and Short kind of just legging it, running off the mark. I'd keep someone as deep as we could, one-on-one, and just have our other forwards sprinting towards that contest.
And Sydney are prone. Their defence has been shown to be exposed for lead-up forwards, a power lead-up forward. What's great, Jack can play that role and so can Tom. So I'd be maximising that. I wouldn't be trying to get the ball on top of their heads. I'd be trying to aim the ball in front of them. And because they've got that experienced core defenders, but they've got a lot of youth in front of them, around them. So those younger defenders, they're not going to be as chirpy in the first quarter as they are in the third when they've got Jack's knee and Tom's knee smashing into their backs as they close the space. That's how I will do it. That's what you're going to do with younger sides. People did it to us so many times. It's our turn. Because we're the alpha apex predator at the moment. We've got to, show them why we're the apex predator.
Flex our muscle a little bit. Ins and outs. CB, who comes in and out? It's 2 wins in a row. Do we do changes at all?
Okay, this is complicated, but I've got to try and explain it. I think 2 players will come in, but I've got 4 players for which to choose to go out, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack Ross must play this week. He's had 2 games on the pine doing nothing. He hasn't played VFL. He needs to get game time into him urgently. So Jack Ross must come into this team. And also, I think Nick Floston will come in. I think they're the 2 ins for me. Now, the 4 that can go out, and keep in mind, the 4, one of these guys will become the injury sub. I have Arts. Oh, mate, I'll put Rioli there, but let's face it, he's not going anywhere. Arts, Rioli, Caddy, and Pickett are the 4 that I have of potential outs. But one of those 4 will be the injury sub. So that's kind of how I see it. So I'm not really dancing around it. I'm pretty confident. We know Vlosten's in. I would like to see Ross in, and I've named 4 that I think you could pick a pool of having 2 come out and 1 becoming the injury sub. So that's kind of where my head's at on the ins and outs.
Not a bad call. I reckon it'll come down to matchups out of those 4, essentially. I don't know if any of them have necessarily done anything wrong, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see which way we go, Tiggs.
Yeah, no, similar vein, but not with CB. With Ross, he needs to get conditioning in his legs. I'm just a bit of a different tack. I would actually put him in the VFL and give him a full game. I know what we said about the rules, but that's what I would do. I reckon you get a bit more value, being able to run around and then commit to him that he's playing next week. That's what I'll hopefully the part that we will go. I would then bring in Vlosten. And because Marlon Pickett obviously is floating the forward line, the back line, I'll put Marlon as our medical sub. But that was the only change I would make. I'd put Vlosten in. Look, Daniel Rioli, people knocked him. He did enough, 4 shots on goal. Jason Castell, our forward line's working, our midfield's working. Josh Caddy is borderline for me now. If Josh Caddy has another game like he had against the Hawks, even though he did some good things, but so did Marlon. So if Josh Caddy has just an average game, I'll then replace him with Marlon Pickett. But that's my thoughts.
And I just want to clarify on Rioli too, why I had him. He went for a big mark and he really hurt himself in the first or second quarter. And the reason I've got him in my list of potential outs, I should have clarified, is I actually think he's crook. He was pretty bloody sore playing that game out. So
and he copped the poke in the eye, which, how often have you seen, honestly, a player not kick the ball within their 30 seconds? And that's not a deliberate thing he done. I just think he was really struggling to take the kick. So, yeah, I'm not sure how much that'll play a part. But no,
he should have conceded the kick. I'll scream it.
I agree. He should have handballed it. He should have
given
said
it to
100%.
Give it to Mark
but,
or someone.
It wasn't a life or death situation with the goal front. But yeah, he should have done that. But I agree with some of those changes. I just wanted to point out a couple of stats from the VFL game that we had on the weekend. I know this gentleman can't play yet, but Coleman Jones kicked 4 goals, 1. So it's pretty exciting to see him getting some confidence up forward. Ralph Smith had 20 disposals, 3 tackles. Miller had 10 disposals, 6 spoils. The Egg had 19 disposals, 4 tackles. Rioli had 6 tackles, 6 contested possessions and kicked 1 goal, 2. Will Martin had 18 disposals, 8 tackles. I feel like he's going to get a game soon. And Collier Dawkins had 4 centre clearances and 5 normal clearances. So the boys are doing well down there, and spots are going to open up, I think, in the near future. But good to see a few bashing the door down.
Actually, quick question on VFL, just for both your boys' input, a quick yes or no. Is it a good look for the AFL to have Patrick Dangerfield playing VFL while he's suspended?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm saying no. And I know we've probably used that same rule in the past, but I think no.
Look, if there's I'd say yes, because it's a practice game. It's not a VFL game. So in practice game, we had CCJ, and if Stack wasn't in jail, he would have been running around too. It's just unfortunately
they're club suspensions, aren't they? Are they league suspensions?
League suspension, yeah. When they got fined for so it's the same thing. You can't look. And you know me, I fucking can't stand Dangerfield. But at the end of the day, he did nothing wrong. It's the media not thinking it through before they started whining about it.
Yep.
All right, margins time. CB, I think you've got some explaining to do on this run.
Have you fixed Dexter, mate? Have you fixed it, buddy? I'm losing faith. Sorry. I think it's a vibrator. That's what I think, but
I'm pretty sure it's a fucking garbage can with a fax machine rammed in it. That's what I think it is.
Okay.
Dennis Canuto type fax machine by the sounds of it. Jesus.
So, look, we've had a crack, and I've been working on it, and I'm not really technically minded, but I'm tipping Richmond to win by 2 points.
Oh, you think it's going to be a close one?
Where's the plus side of it?
No, 2 points.
Just 2 points? Okay, just 2 points. All right. Because we do get some feedback from Trog and Tiger on this on Twitter, so thanks for holding us accountable.
I just pictured a skinny dude with fucking glasses. Someone that actually looks funny enough like O'Gorman, TT. Yeah, that's how I picture
CB's defence, if we hadn't dicked around with the ball, we may have gotten near his total in the end, but I think we cost ourselves a bit. So, you're probably not as far off as you think. Tiggs?
Yeah, this way I reckon this is going to be one of those games that I seriously think are going to be, let's see what you've got type games. Horse is going to want to see if his system sets up, if it's genuine. So I reckon we'll win around about 38 points. So I think they'll just run and gun. And we'll do the damage early. Then they'll go, oh, fuck. And then they'll park a bus. But by that stage, we'll be, 6 goals in front.
I reckon they're going to push us a little bit, and more so, and this is not being disrespectful, but more so because we aren't overly fussed about not playing our best football this time of year, whereas they're flying at the moment. But I still think we'll be good enough to get the job done, but I'm guessing around 18 points. But we'll be happy just to take the 4 points with no injuries, to be honest. So should be a cracking game.
What's funny though, we all talk about Dusty being new age, how fucking selfless he is, but I seriously think, and from what I know, being Buddy's back on the scene, his alpha instincts will kick in. No, Buddy, I'm the big dog now.
I'm the man.
So I expect a huge game from him, and I don't see any, kicking it to Jack Rewalt where he can kick the goal himself.
He'll kick 5. He's going to say.
I reckon he's going to go sick. I reckon he's going to go sick.
Surely Horse plays him. You can't not have a spell after playing one game in Sydney. Surely he's on the plane.
Is there rumour of that, is there?
Yeah, they're talking that he might be spelled.
No, not on the... Surely not. He loves the G, buddy.
But he might be
for us if he doesn't.
Might be a bit scared. Oh, don't make me face the Dusty. Don't make me face the Dusty. Blix Horsey, don't make me face the Dusty.
All right, the game's on Saturday, April 3rd at the MCG, 1:45 p.m. Hopefully we see a large Tiger army out there in force, and make sure you be loud. Good luck to everyone trying to get tickets. I know a few people already have, so should be a cracking game, gentlemen. But thank you for your time as always. What is going on there?
My fucking dog, sorry. He's an absolute cock. I love him. His name's Caesar. He's an English staff, and I normally give him time. He's like one of my kids. Oh, shut up. I'll be there in a sec. I normally play with him, give him time. So we've not been doing this for 45 minutes, nearly an hour. He fucking gets upset. So he'll come into the computer room
He's giving
sit
you a
on this
wind-up.
sofa that I've got and just stare at me. And if I don't give him attention, he'll bark. All right, I'm coming. I'm getting
All
off
right,
now.
Caesar, we're wrapping up now, mate. Yeah, it's all good. But no, thank you for your time tonight, gentlemen, on a Tuesday night, and also our normal gig. But we should return to normal transmissions next week, fingers crossed. So until next time, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.